Ayo! Welcome to episode 19 of Create This Book 2 by Mariah Elizabeth and Ashleigh Monet. Would be me. Wait, episode 19 of Create This Book 2?
What happened to episode 18 of Create This Book 3 or episode 19 of Create This Book 1?
Remember how I said before that I desperately needed to catch up on my episodes? Yeah, that didn't happen. I tried. I really did. I did not sleep. I was really trying to sit down and crank out some artwork, but I was still not able to squeeze 2 extra episodes in before this one. Boo-hoo. Now we have to go
out of order.
Because you see, this episode had to go up today because I promised Arrtx, who sent me some goodies to play with in this episode. These are the Arrtx Simptaps. They are another acrylic brush marker. As you guys know, I have not been really shy about telling you that I did not enjoy the past brush markers. So we'll see if these are better. The issue that I had with the first batch was, of course, the dryness. A lot of the markers right out of the box already felt dried out. Now these, while they still have the brush tip, have a totally different mechanism, and you pump them to send paint down into the tip. Now, unlike the bullet tip ones that I've reviewed and loved, you don't push the tip, you push a button on the back. So just shake, 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 push the button, and you're ready to go. Now I'm hoping, since with these you can control the moisture level of the pen itself, they won't have the problems that I had with the last ones. Let's just say I'm prepared to fall in love with them. We'll see if they earn it. Again, Arrtx sent me these to try. I'm not being paid. I will give you guys a 100% honest review. The good, the bad, the ugly. But I'm gonna kind of stick that at the end of the video. I just wanna get into the art right now. That way you can see them in action for yourself, and if they look interesting, stick around for the review and I'll tell you what I think of them. But yeah, we have 4 prompts to tackle in this episode. So enough of me talking, let's jump right in and see what I can create. Alrighty, first prompt. Create an alphabet. Write every letter of the alphabet on this page. I wanted to do a fun and kind of Halloween-y font for this page. After all, we are officially in spooky season now. The countdown to All Hallows Eve has begun. I started with a standard Ashleigh Monet acrylic black background, which I thought would really make the Harry Potter font pop. Yes, I love that fun little font, and I've said before, Harry Potter will forever be Halloween themed, so we're going for it. I loved using the brush pens for this, can you call it calligraphy? Calligraphy is not restricted to cursive fonts, right? It's just making art out of writing. Am I right? I don't know. Someone fact check, but I'm calling it calligraphy. But the ability to have a varied stroke, thick or thin, makes the letter painting smooth and easy. This is exactly why I wanted a good brush tip paint marker. Versatility. I decided to alternate colors for each letter using the Simptap metallic gold as well as the metallic silver. These 2 markers in particular are just stunning. They are so opaque, they are so shiny. I'm freaking obsessed. I couldn't stop myself. I started adding a bunch of little twinkles all around the page. Probably took it too far, but can you blame me? Look at this beautiful display of metallic perfection, you guys. Besides, it's not like this page really had a lot to it. I mean, yeah, here it is. It's done. I did leave the other side blank because I knew what was coming next. Create a repair. Crumple, rip, cut, or stain this page.
Or have a friend do it for you.
Try to repair the damage. So the fact that I was going to have to destroy this page led me to not even bother putting anything nice on the backside. Book lovers, look away. It's time to tear this page out.
Ouch, no.
Okay, the worst is behind us. Let me now paint the leftover page background black to match the other side. And with this page torn out, it only makes sense to continue the Harry Potter theme. So I used some acrylic to put down a tan background. I was going for the Marauders map look with this one. So once that dried, I went through with some darker brown and a paper towel, just creating that dirty, dingy, distressed kind of texture. Now I get to break out the Simptaps again. I use the black to draint, draw and paint at the same time. Draint a pair of Harry Potter glasses. I was already missing the metallic, so I used the gold to make the little lightning bolt scar above the glasses. Super cute. Then I painstakingly added a bunch of little footprints all over. This was a test of the markers and their precision. I felt like they did pretty well enough that I decided to try outlining that lightning bolt, and hey, looky there, it worked out just fine. It's kind of hard to see, but I made the little hammer doodle silver, but that thing is so shiny, it just looks white. Okay, it's time to tear it up. I don't like it, but we gotta do it. The book commands, I must obey. First, I tore around the edges. Then I tore the prompt away from the glasses part of the page. But the real damage came when I ripped those glasses straight down the center. I thought this concept would be kind of clever because for any that are unfamiliar with the story, Harry Potter is constantly bullied by his cousin who repeatedly breaks his glasses just like this. Now we can glue the pieces into the book. And then I can work on the repair. I'm air quoting that word right now because I wanted the repair to look kind of sloppy and obvious. I used some tape and just laid it over the torn seams. Again, I thought this was clever because Harry always held his glasses together with tape. That is, of course, until Hermione teaches him the magic charm to fix his glasses. Oculus Reparo. Well, here's the finished page. 2 prompts, 1 page. That is efficiency. This spread was simple, but lots of fun, and I really love it. Moving on, we have Create Imitation. Recreate a famous piece of artwork. Oakley dokley. I started by taping off my borders and laying down some acrylic. If you were curious why for these page backgrounds I'm using regular acrylic with a brush instead of the Simptaps, the truth is I don't know how they would perform covering huge areas like this. I don't think that's really what they're designed to do, plus it would take forever. Like, I'm a busy girl. Regular paint on a big brush, it's quick and efficient. So this is me working up a background gradient of blues and purples. At the bottom, I'm going in with some black for our foreground image. It's maybe not the most obvious at this point, but I will be recreating and putting my own spin on the legendary Van Gogh painting, Starry Night. I want to give it a fun Halloween-y vibe, so I will be adding a kooky little haunted house into mine. Okay, now for the fun. I get to add all of those colorful strokes for the Impressionist style that Van Gogh is known for. I just know these brush markers would really lend themselves to that style. I did the moon and a star in the glowy hues of yellow, and then inspired by the original, which has some swirling night clouds, I thought it would be fun to do some swirling little ghosts. Next was just a long time of me using the markers and colors that were just a little bit lighter than the background to fill the space with those swirling strokes. This took so much time, it's very repetitive. It definitely gave me a little more appreciation for the original artwork and how long it must have taken to do this, but even more detailed and on a larger scale. Also makes it a little easier to understand why Van Gogh went insane and cut off his own ear. Fun fact, Vincent van Gogh actually painted Starry Night after he mutilated his ear. And wouldn't you know, Starry Night is just a depiction of the view that he had from his asylum room. Fun stuff. Also, I just realized the ghosties shouldn't have been bluish since they are within the purple area of the background, so we just give that a little quick switch. That's the best thing about acrylic. You mess up, no biggie. Everything can be covered. I tried to add some white to the ghost, but I will say, since these markers are so juicy, they take a lot longer to dry than the other brush markers. So I was premature and just ended up mixing the white with the purple underneath. We're just gonna have to come back to that later once it's actually dry. For now, let's start on these foreground bits. I used black and did the swirly kind of mountain, tree, tower thing that's in the original. Does anybody know what that's actually supposed to be? Confirmed while editing, it is in fact a cypress tree. But then I added more, some spooky dead trees, some bushy distant pine trees, and then I cleaned up the silhouette of the haunted house. Now right now the difference in sheen makes these strokes obviously stand out from the black base that I painted, but don't worry, once I Mod Podge everything, it'll all even out. Now to add some depth and variation, I added even more impressionistic strokes in dark gray to kind of highlight some of the details. And I even did another layer on top of that with dark brown. I think it's starting to come together. Okay, of course this haunted house needs to have some glowing windows. So I did a layer of orange on all of them to kind of start. And hey, while I'm using orange, why not make a trail of pumpkins leading up this path to the door? And to fill in some of these voids, maybe a little hint of some dead grass as well. All right, I had a thought. I want a cute little black cat to be sitting on top of this big pumpkin. Oh, and now I can give the ghosties their little faces. Time to go in with some yellow and really light up those windows. And again, since I had it out, I decided to turn all of these pumpkins into jack-o'-lanterns with glowing eyes. Yeah, but this orange, it dried a little less vibrant than I'd like, so let's add another layer. Well, from there, it's just a few little touch-ups, and this thing was starting to look kind of finished to me. Let's go ahead and pull the tape. Ooh, so satisfying. Next, I use this sexy metallic gold to color in the frame doodle that's around the prompt. I signed the page, and I had intended to draw a gold frame around my painting after the tape was pulled, but at the last minute, I decided against it. You know, I think the frame would have been too much. But with that said, it's juicy highlight time. As a fun little last minute detail, I had to add some bats flying across the moon. Ugh, love it. And that's it for this page. I love that it still definitely has the Starry Night vibe, but with the spooky little Halloween twist. Impressionism is not my forte, but these markers really help me make it work. And that brings us to our last prompt. Create a pastel page. Use only light colors on this page. All right, starting off with my borders taped, I'm kind of loving that I've been able to do so many prompts in this episode directly in the book. The whole separate sheet of paper thing gets annoying sometimes. It's an extra step. It adds so much bulk to the book. So I appreciate days like this where I can work directly on the pages. I started with a little gradient of colors, pastel pink, shifting into pastel purple, shifting into pastel blue, shifting into pastel green. And on the opposite page, doing my signature black.
Black? What? But it's only supposed to be light colors on the page.
Yes, I hear you. I am breaking the rules, but only because a strictly pastel page is going to have no contrast. That sounds boring to me. Trust me, I will make the pastels the star, but my soul requires a touch of black for this page. As you can see, I left a white lump in the center. Some of you might guess what's going to go there by now, but if not, I'm going to keep you in suspense just a little longer while I pull the tape off of this side. Okay, back to this side. My piece will be featuring a fun little sheet ghost. I was inspired by the ghost I did on my phone case a while back. I want to do basically the same thing, but fill the page with lovely pastel flowers. I started by using the pastel blue to create some leaves and background greenery surrounding the ghost. Then followed that up with the pastel green, also doing leaves and stems and things of that nature, but this time I'm staggering them over the blue. These paint markers all have pretty inconsistent levels of opacity. Some are 100% opaque with one coat. Others require a few more layers, and this green falls into the many layers category. Wanting to spare myself the effort of doing multiple layers with all of my pastel colors, I went ahead and painted a white base for each of the flowers that I'm going to be adding. Then I added the pastel pinks and purples and oranges. Ugh, lovely. Now, while all of those took their sweet time drying, I decided to use black over this pastel side, and with a fun, bubbly little font wrote, just a cute little ray of pitch black. You know how people will say someone's a cute little ray of sunshine? Well, not me. My heart, my soul, they crave the black. Had to go completely overboard with juicy highlights on the bubble letters, but you know what? I'm leaving them as is. I won't apologize for them. These letters are unapologetically juicy, okay? Alright, so I decided to add some depth to the flowers and leaves over here by adding shadows using the colors that are just a little bit darker than the pastel versions. But I don't know what happened after that. Basically, I lost my mind. Was this a post effect of the Van Gogh on the last page? I don't know. But for the next hour or so, I was just going like back and forth with pastels, then the darker colors, then white, then the pastels. On and on until I finally decided like I was happy with the flowers, or rather, I could live with the flowers. They were acceptable. But then I added just a few little white spots. I don't know, maybe it's some baby's breath to fill in the space. And I'm calling it done. I can't with it anymore. Pull up the tape. At least there's some joy in that. And for a finishing touch, added my pastels to the font lettering. And here's the finished page. I'm sure I was too hard on it. I'm sure there are people out there that are going to think this is just the bee's knees, but I just felt very discombobulated there at the end working on the flowers, and that is not how I enjoy making art. But with that, we are finished and we can recap. We created an alphabet, writing every letter of the alphabet in the kooky, highly recognizable Harry Potter font. Love the metallics so freaking much. We created a repair, destroying these Harry Potter glasses and then fixing them with a simple Oculus Reparo. We created Imitation, drawing inspiration from Van Gogh's Starry Night and putting a fun Halloween spin on it. And lastly, we created a pastel page, with a little ray of pitch black mixed in for me, of course. But this cute little ghost surrounded by pastel flowers is a nice blend of spooky cute, and we did it all with the Arrtx Simptaps, which we can now discuss. Now again, for context, I'm kind of comparing these to the first round of Arrtx brush markers that I received. I wasn't happy with those. A lot of them ran dry. And the worst part is if it wasn't for that one little detail, I think they would have been good markers. There's just no reason you should buy acrylic brush markers and have some be dry right out of the box. Now, the more I complained about this issue, the more people told me about the hack. I believe this was first mentioned by Christine of Courageous Painting. And then a lot of people tried it and found that it worked, so everybody was telling me to do this, and that is to unscrew the back and drop a little bit of water inside, and that would rehydrate the marker. Now let me just disclaim, I don't think that that is acceptable. I don't think anybody should have to do that with a brand new product, but I am gonna try it and see if it is valid. Now I was told specifically not to overdo it with the water, just a tiny bit, or else it'll go everywhere. Ugh, this still made a mess. Okay. Well, the hack did give it a boost. Like, look, the marker works now. So there you have it. The hack does work. Again, I still feel like nobody should have to do that with a new product. For that reason, I can't endorse the original Arrtx brush pens. But if you are like me and you already have a set that feels somewhat useless to you because of all the dried out markers, this is a solution to your problem. It will help them work so you can at least use what you have. Let's try the Simptaps and see if that is a better solution to buy for the first time. Because like I said, the dryness was the only issue I had with the last pens. So if that is a non-issue, there's no reason to not get these. Theoretically. So again, to work the Simptap, you just give them a shake them real well. Remove a little cap off the back. I don't have one on the pen that I'm using, but normally there's a little cap that protects it from being pressed when you don't want it to. I found that most of mine were like squirting paint everywhere just with a simple push, so I tried to be extremely, extremely gentle. It still kind of went everywhere, still kind of made a mess. Just make sure when you're activating these, like have a paper towel close by and just do it over the paper towel. You will save yourself a ton of headache. But you'll be able to see the paint actually flow into the tip, and then you are good to use it as a paint marker. Again, love the brush tip for the fact that you can make thin lines, you can make thick lines. There's so much variety with a brush tip. That's why I was so desperate to find one that I liked. And the nice thing about this new batch of Simptaps is they have a really wide color variety. The set that they sent me is the 48 colors, but they also have them in 36. They also have them in 24. Now looking at the box, it's real pretty. I know that shouldn't be any sort of a factor, you know, it's what's inside that counts, but hey, for the record, it's a very pretty box. It's kind of shimmery, kind of glittery. And if you fold it the specific way, you can actually like prop it up so that the markers are really easy to grab. I love that. There are numbers pre-printed on the markers. I know that that was a big complaint for a lot of people on the last set was you had to do the stickers to put the number on the marker. Well, they already have them. But I will say the biggest issue with this box is that there are no dividers. Most of the paint pens I've ever gotten have some sort of like plastic divider in the bottom of the box so that you can keep the markers organized. This one doesn't have them, so they just kind of jumble around if you pick a couple out randomly. If you're like me and you keep them all in order and your swatch card matches the order that they're in, it's a little frustrating when they get mixed up. So that's not so great. Now, of course, I had to swatch all of the paint markers. I always swatch over white and black just because I really want to see the marker's opacity level. I can't lie, the opacity on these markers is all over the place. Like that silver and gold metallic, oh my gosh. But look at that white, like the white is not opaque at all. I don't know why they're so inconsistent, but they are. Now, another thing I like to grade on is bleed. Flip the page over, and these markers did not have an issue with bleeding, which I was very surprised because they are super, super juicy. Now, another point I have to knock off for them is there is a wild difference between the swatched marker and the color on the cap. Some of these are so far off, it's ridiculous. Like, here are some of the worst offenders. Yeah, look at this. In the marker, it looks like it's teal. That is straight up sky blue. How do you end up that far off? That irks me. But once you get them swatched, you can see what the color is. And at that point, there's no issue. It's just make sure you swatch. Don't just go in with the marker based off of the cap and assume you're going to get that color. But how did I feel about their overall performance? I think they did really well on paper. I didn't have any bleed issues. I only pumped each marker once, that like initial activation, and didn't have to pump again the rest of the time that I was making the art, not for any of the markers. They stayed incredibly juicy. In fact, if anything, they were a little too juicy. You have to actually like look at the tip before you go to color, because there might even be like a big drip about to come off the tip and you'll want to just like wipe it off onto a piece of paper before you go in with it. They are juicy, juicy, juicy. You do have to shake them very often. I would find if I capped one and set it off to the side, even for a couple of minutes, and then tried to come back to it, it had already kind of separated a little bit in the marker, so had to shake again to get it going the right color. To some people that might be annoying. I was shocked to hear from a lot of other artists that they just don't like shake and pump period because they think it's too much work. I don't know. To me, it takes a couple of seconds, so it's not a big deal. But if you don't want to shake, then you might not like these so much. I also will say that with the black marker in particular, I did feel like the brush tip was already kind of, I don't want to say wearing down, but it was getting a little frayed. It wasn't just that crisp, sharp, pointed brush tip anymore. And this is the first time I've used it just on this episode. So my guess is with a lot of extended use, those tips are going to wear down and not be so great. But I almost feel like that's part of the territory with anything brush tip, like it happens to my brush tip alcohol markers too. So I don't know that that's a mark against them, but it is something to consider. But now for the ultimate question, if these were not gifted to me, if I ran out of them and had to buy another brush tip acrylic marker, would I buy these ones? And I can say this time that my answer is yes. I think they work great. I don't mind the extra juiciness, especially when the alternative is having something dried out. I don't want that. They have that brush tip, so I can get the thick lines. I can get the thin lines. I have the variety. The application is smooth. Yes, there are some that are not as opaque as others, but enough of this set had really, really good coverage and opacity that I'm comfortable saying I would get them. Now, like I said, there are 3 sizes, and obviously each size is going to be a different price. This 48 set that I have on Amazon, the American price is $43, which to me, I'm a cheapskate. That's a little steep for my taste. So I don't know that I would buy this same exact set. The 36 marker set is only $33, which to me is something I would be much more comfortable wrapping my head around. And I looked at the color difference between the two. I don't know. The color difference, it doesn't sway me. I feel like the best colors that are in this 48 are also in the 36. But that's subjective. That's my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a QR code. This will take you to the US Amazon 48 pack. And from there, I mean, it's the same page. You can switch to the different sizes and you can see what colors are in each one and kind of make your own decision. But if you're interested, this is where you go to get them. I'll also have it linked in the description as well as any additional links for like different countries. But yeah, I enjoyed the prompts today. I hope you guys did too. Thank you so much to Arrtx for sending me these Simptaps. I will keep using them. I enjoy them very much. And until next time, goodbye.